G'day guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video here on the Torque Hub YouTube channel. On today's episode we're in my shed again and we're working on one of my buddy's cars again. It's not Liam's ute, we've finished that one. That one's been shipped off and it's been immediately replaced with my buddy Cameron's car. It's from a different stable, has a different engine, and it's all around just a different car, so let's go and check it out. Here it is. This is what we're working on. This is Cam's BF Mark II F6 Typhoon. Looks really good in white. And it's also an R-Spec. So it's a pretty cool late model performance car, I guess you'd say. It's already had a heap of work done to it already, and it's come here just to get the last few bits of fab stuff that it needs before it can go and see the dyno. So I figured what I'll do is I'll just give you guys a quick look at the car because I think it's pretty cool, and then I'll show you what I got to do. So I guess while the window's open I'll show you in here. It's all pretty standard interior. You'll notice straight away it's got a B&M shifter with a red button on top. Now that red button is 100% functional and it's really fun to use. So the car runs a powerglide transmission. It's got a reed case, it's got all the good gear inside of it, and yeah, it's something a bit different. You probably wouldn't normally see a transmission like that behind or in a car of this caliber sort of thing, so it's pretty cool. Down the back he's got the standard M86 diff, true track. He's got the big billet axles to handle 1200 horsepower or whatever it is. What else has he got? He's also got the IDS coilover suspension in the back that's set up for drag racing, so when he lets off the button with this new engine combo it should actually perform pretty good. So let's keep looking what else we got there. Also in the back here you'll see it's on standard wheels. They're just on there for the ride here on the trailer because he has a set of work wheels that are usually on the car but they don't fit with the trailer, so it's on the standard wheels. But also he's got a sweet set of Enemies Everywhere beadlock wheels on their way, so we can put a 15 on the back to really get it to work. So that's the back half of the car. Let's look under the bonnet. Now obviously it's got the Barra engine in it. Over this side we have the high mount 6 boost manifold, and this is an S400 chassis Borg Warner turbo that's been recently upgraded to a precision 78mm compressor wheel, so it should move a little bit more air than the original cast wheel that was in it. All your standard stuff back here guys, 4-inch dump pipe, 60mm wastegate. It's got a twin 3-inch exhaust after the single 4-inch, so it's actually pretty quiet. It does a good job of knocking the noise out. What else we got? Right over here we've got the FG plenum that Cam's just changed to, with the Plasma Man little converter piece here that converts your Bosch fly-by-wire to the plasma clamp, so I don't have to weld the flange on like I did on Liam's throttle body. The reason he's put the FG plenum on because this previously had an ISPro plenum, which is a pretty nice bit of gear as well, but he wanted to run the Process West dual feed fuel rail, and the ISPro plenum does not allow provision for that to fit. So you can see it's got the feed there, back there, and this is the return to the regulator. FPR 2000 regulator, plenty big enough for what this is doing. And as you can probably guess by now, what my job is to do the intercooler piping. So we've got to go, it's all 3-inch piping that we're using, so obviously it's got to go from the throttle body. I've got to fit it down through there. You can see this is actually, if you're familiar with these cars, you'll notice that there's a bit of a notch here. That's not normally there. I've notched that last time I did the cooler piping on this car. This will be the 3rd lot of cooler piping this car's had. Obviously got to weld a cast elbow back on the compressor housing here, and I have to remove this battery tray out the way and cut some holes to get the 3-inch piping down through there. Now it's not going to be an easy job. Working on the fronts of these Falcons, once you pull this nice looking bumper off, it's actually not much room there, so it's going to be a bit of a mission to get all this piping to fit. Also, I will touch on the other upgrade from the previous setup is we've got the Process West big dog bar and plate cooler, so intake temps should be a lot better than what it was before. Now this engine is completely stock inside, but it has valve springs, oil pump gears, and it might have a set of head studs, I can't remember. It gets all the tuning and stuff's been done by Rob at Monsta Torque. This car has made about 740 horsepower to the tyres through the powerglide transmission and the TCE torque converter, so it's making cracker power for a stock bottom end Barra. You've probably seen them push a little bit harder than that, but not often. That's getting after it pretty good for a stock rotator engine. But there's actually a new engine on its way. It should be ready in probably another 2 weeks time. Rob's building that one. It's a rod and piston engine with fire rings and all the good gear inside of it, so we should be able to push that turbo pretty much as hard as it can go on the new engine. I think Rob rates the engines at about 1200 wheel horsepower, so it's going to be a good time. So actually another thing I'll show you, as you can see here, it's on a stock ECU making all that power. Rob's really good with the stock computer stuff, as I'm sure many would know. Now that's Rob from Monsta Torque, just for anyone that doesn't know who I'm talking about. And so it's on a stock computer at the moment, but another one of the upgrades that Cameron's doing, Cam, is the Elite Pro plug-in from Haltech. So Cam's got the ECU upgraded. He's also got the EGT set up as well. We're going to run 6 K-type thermocouples on the exhaust manifold, so you'll be able to monitor all the EGTs. Rob will really be able to get after the tune because he's going to be able to check all the vitals on that. He's got a nice little can gauge for it as well. What else have we got here? This has nothing to do with the turbo system at all, but Cam's got the really nice Plasma Man header tank to replace this chrome Chinese jobby that doesn't really look as good. So we've got the Plasma Man header tank. We love the Plasma gear. And here are some of the parts that I need to do the cooler pipe. So this is all 3-inch piping, which kind of feels and looks small compared to doing Liam's job, where it was all 3.5 and 4. But anyway, so this is the cast elbow that I'll need to weld back on the compressor housing. This has been welded on previously. It needed to be removed when they done the high flow service on the turbo to put that precision wheel in there. So we've got 4 90-degree 3-inch and 2 45s. Got some straight there. Hopefully we've got enough bends. I thought we had plenty, but having a closer look, we might be short. I do have a donut that I've welded over there as well, so we should have enough parts. Hopefully we're going to be running a turbo smart blow-off valve on it as well, so there's plenty happening here. So I think I've waffled on enough. It's like 8 minutes in. That's bloody more than enough for a Wednesday waffle session. So let's remove this bumper and have a closer look at what we're working with, and you'll be able to see how much fun it is to do a custom cooler piping on a B series Falcon. Stick with me. got the front bumper off, you can have a little bit better look at what we're dealing with here. Now there's some big fog light, the backs of the fog lights are occupying the space around here somewhere. This is the intercooler that I mentioned before. It's the bigger 4-inch core with the 3-inch end tanks on it from Process West, big heavy bar and plate jigger. Now I welded the plasma clamps on this when Cameron first got it a little while ago, and he's just fitted up. It's never actually obviously been in use in this position, but casting my eyes around, it's looking a little bit neglected under here actually. We're hitting there. I'm not sure if Cam did this with the first intercooler, or maybe a different shop that we won't mention did this cutting when they fitted the cooler originally. But either way, I'm gonna have to, you know, my OCD is not gonna let that fly, so I'm gonna try and get a nicer sort of streamline cut through there and clean up all that haggardness, because that's just disgusting. I'm also gonna have to trim, you can see in here, imagine that's our plasma clamp ferrule there. Now you can see in there really isn't a hell of a lot of room. We've still got to get a clamshell clamp around that, so I'm going to have to move some stuff out of the way here, and I'm probably going to have to clearance a little bit more of this radiator support structure as well, and maybe even get a little bit more out of the way here as well. On top of, I believe I'm going to have to trim and just remove some of this panel maybe from this height, do a nice curved line and just cut that through to remove that, so I've got a bit more room for the pipe to come up through here. This is the notch I was talking about before. You can see I done this a couple years ago now when I done the first lot of hard piping on the original setup. So this is just a pretty agricultural notch. You can see, obviously, like I've said before, that's what you get. That's my sheet metal work. But the Plasma Man, like bolt-on cooler kits and stuff, they have a silicone that goes through here, so you don't have to do that, and the silicone basically just squashes just like dog shit basically through there, and no cooler kit really fits awesome on these. So that's basically all the cutting I'm going to have to do, I think, to get the cold side through. Now if we go over to the hot side cooler piping, you can see that there is no obvious way that I can get a 3-inch pipe through anywhere. So like I was saying with the Plasma Man kits, they have a silicone that goes over this section of the cross member. So the original turbo will have the compressor over there, so it basically comes down, comes over this in between the fan and the cross member there, and it then, I think it comes around and thinks it comes around this way and does a 180 in, I believe, but it's all smaller piping. It's usually 2.5-inch piping and a lot of silicone bends and joiners so they can conform to what they need to. So once again, looking at this, I'm probably going to have to clearance a bit more out of here to give me room for my pipe. And what I reckon I'll do is I'll ditch this super rusty, I might add, battery tray that can go in the boot, and I'll remove the original battery tray up there, and I'm probably gonna bust a hole through the top there so we've got somewhere to put the piping through. So not a straightforward job. It was never going to be a straightforward job. They never are. You think, yeah, we'll just get this one in, knock it out so I can get onto my car, but a little bit to go yet, so let's get into it. here I go, I've got my parts on the bench. As you just seen, I did some measuring, cut this section of pipe to get our first bit all mapped out. So it's first thing I'll do is tack this elbow onto the throttle body plasma clamp ferrule, and then ordinarily what any normal person would do is they would then tack this section that I've cut to this bit, and then you take it back over to the car and basically twist it and align it to where it needed to go, mark some lines on there. But my OCD is starting to kick in a bit, and I've decided that I want to make this section a bit longer, so I'm going to cut it back on this line here and just put one single piece that's about 250 millimeters long, as opposed to just this 130 millimeter bit there. And I think that's because we've got to put a blow-off valve around here somewhere. So if we've got a weld right there, that is just going to piss me off. It's going to, you know, it's just going to peak me out with my OCD. So what I've decided to do is to try and get it to look as good as I can. I'll cut it back a bit more, obviously, put the 250 millimeter section in, and then I can put the blow-off valve sort of in the middle of that, and it won't look dicky. It's just little things like that. You guys will figure out as you keep watching me do this stuff. It's little things like that that just peak me out. It doesn't mean anything, more or less just waste time, but they all add up, and that's, you know, that's how my vision comes to life, I guess you'd say. So do a bit more rooting around, tack that, and we'll get there. So here's me bend. I've just marked it out with my, obviously my Super Ghetto marking system. The saw that I want to cut it in doesn't have the range to get me square where I need to be. So what I'm going to do is, just got a bit of scrap offcut here. I'll just tack this on there so that I've got something for the vise there to clamp onto, just a couple of tacks, and that way I can set my angle, cut it in the cold saw blade. Saves me having to use the bandsaw. The bandsaw's a bit of a pain in the ass. It's got the wrong TPI blade in it. It's a bit of a prick to use, so spend a little bit of time just tacking that on there, and I'll get a nice clean cut, quick clean up, and it'll be good to go. Alrighty, so bumper is on and everything fits. Here it is from the engine bay side. You can get a bit of a look. It's a bit dark down there, but that's how it looks from the engine bay side. So it's all pretty good. And you can see down here, fog light is really close as well, but it fits. So that's it. Now it's time to notch that cooler, or notch the Rio for the cooler properly. I'll notch it both sides, and I can weld that cold side pretty much whenever I want now, and start mucking around for the hot side cooler piping. Getting there slowly. Check that out. Self-tapper. Big Galvo self-tapper holding on the horns. That's sweet. Please buy something for VH this year.
Yeah,
and just one thing. One thing, Jeff.
I'm getting there, alright?
No, you're not.
I am.
How?
I'm saving all the money.
You got money, don't lie.
I don't got money, I've got fucking hopes and dreams. I barely got them.
There it is, compressor cover fitted back on. Really happy with how it's situated there. It's lined up absolutely perfectly. It worked out good. I didn't have to change the angle here or anything. All I had to do was flip it. It was originally welded, this side was welded to the compressor cover, but I've flipped it around to get me away from here, and it's lined up pretty good. As you can see, here's a closer look at why I've had to remove the battery tray. I mean, considering I've left half the battery tray in there, it actually doesn't look too bad. So I'm happy with that. So we've got a beautiful pathway now to get this hot side pipe routed through. You can see there I put a bit of pinch weld around the hole that I've already cut. So all in all, time to start the hot side pipe. So this is the final fit up on the hot side cooler pipe. Just thrown the bumper on, done a last final check. Everything clears in there. It's pretty close to the bottom edge of the bumper, but other than that, it's all fitting really good. So now it's time to rip it all off, give it all a good clean up, and just weld it all out. There's a few hours of welding in this, so better get cracking. So there you have it, guys. That's the custom piping on Cam's F6 all done, all completed. Turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. It's a really satisfying job using good quality parts like the plasma clamps and the Turbo Smart blow-off valve with the flange and stuff like that. It makes a job like this so much easier to get a half decent result at the end. It should help make a little bit more power now. We've got the bigger intercooler like I alluded to before, the bigger piping, the new turbo and stuff like that, so it should move quite a lot quicker, and Rob should be able to get after it in the tune with the new Haltech Elite as well. This car's already gone 997 at 137 miles an hour off the foot brake at the Motorplex 6-8 months ago, maybe even 12 months ago now. So it's already a pretty good mover and shaker as it is. So Cam's chasing 8-second time slips with this one. So follow us along. We're gonna be following him when he goes to the Motorplex and all that jazz. So if you're keen to see more about this one or any other sort of videos that we've got with fabrication and other cool stuff in the shed, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. Hit me up in the comments if you've got any questions of what I've done on this one or any other questions regarding to our videos. But that's going to wrap it up, guys. See you next time.